Most people hear MKUltra and think of conspiracy forums, urban legends, or wild stories about secret experiments, LSD trips, and rogue agents. But the real documented truth is far more disturbing than the myths. MKUltra wasn't just paranoia or sci-fi fantasy. It was colder, more calculated, and very real. Think of it as a business model, a state-backed, multi-million-dollar project asking one question. If you can shape how people think, can you control how they act? And if you can control how they act, what does that mean for governments, markets, economies, and every system built on human behavior? Welcome to Financial Historian, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it seems. To understand MKUltra, you need to know the world that created it. The early 1950s, a time when the global economy wasn't fully connected, but fear was everywhere. The Korean War had ended. American POWs returned home, making strange confessions, praising communism, speaking as if their minds had been rewired. The Soviet Union experimented with hypnosis, drugs, and psychological torture. China used ideological re-education. Propaganda became as powerful as guns. The Cold War wasn't just military, it was psychological. In Washington, inside the CIA, a chilling idea emerged. If the mind can be broken, maybe it can be controlled. And if it can be controlled, it can be used. In 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles approved MKUltra. It looked like research, but it acted like a covert operation. At its core, it was an investment, a massive, secret portfolio of experiments funded with almost no oversight. Over the next 20 years, MKUltra grew into 149 officially documented subprojects, plus many more lost to history. The CIA funneled money through front organizations, dummy foundations, and prestigious universities that thought they were receiving research grants. In reality, they were part of one of the most ethically catastrophic projects in American intelligence history. The methods were reckless, horrific. High-dose LSD without consent, sensory deprivation, hypnosis, electroshock, isolation, psychological dismantling. If there was a line, it was crossed. If there was a rule, it was ignored. The CIA didn't ask if it was moral, only if it might work. But here's the part rarely discussed. MKUltra wasn't just about torture or paranoia. It was about economics. Beneath the secrecy and mad science, the program believed that human behavior could be engineered, and that controlling behavior could tilt power in geopolitics and markets. At the same time, corporations were doing something similar in the open. Madison Avenue was rewriting advertising rules. Behavioral psychology became a tool for persuasion. Post-war consumerism was booming, and companies asked, what makes people buy? What makes them loyal? Two worlds, one covert, one commercial, asked the same question: how you control decisions. MKUltra wasn't an isolated horror. It was the dark mirror of the emerging science of persuasion, manipulation, and behavioral engineering. The CIA didn't run MKUltra alone. It outsourced professors, psychiatrists, chemists, doctors, Harvard, Stanford, McGill, hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, prisons. The CIA didn't just run a program. It created a shadow research economy. Millions of dollars went into behavioral research. Pharmaceutical companies supplied experimental compounds. Hospitals tested treatments. Ethics were often ignored. This showed a powerful principle. When institutions chase influence, money flows fast. The goal wasn't just to see if the human mind could be broken. It was to see if it could be predicted, directed, and weaponized. Prediction is a foundation of every financial system. If you know how people behave, you can control markets, politics, advertising, belief, and loyalty. The Soviet Union studied influence via ideology. China studied it via group pressure. The CIA studied it via chemistry, psychology, and sensory manipulation. Companies studied influence through marketing, media, and data. This wasn't about mind control. It was about behavioral leverage, the ultimate economic resource. To understand MKUltra, look at the documented projects that survived even after most records were destroyed in 1973. Project Midnight Climax. CIA safe houses in San Francisco and New York. Sex workers dose clients with LSD while agents watch from behind mirrors. Subproject 68 in Montreal. Dr. Ewen Cameron used psychedelics, electroshock, and psychic driving to try to erase and rebuild personalities, funded secretly by the CIA. Experiments targeted prisoners, patients, soldiers, and students who weren't informed. These were not accidents. They were investments to see how far behavior could be pushed. MKUltra was a collision of fear, ambition, science, and money. The line between intelligence and economics blurred. The CIA pursued psychological control for geopolitical gain. The private sector pursued persuasion for profit. The techniques, minus the extreme abuses, overlapped. While MKUltra tested LSD on subjects, advertisers tested emotional triggers on audiences. CIA psychiatrists attempted behavioral modification. Corporations refined targeted advertising. Intelligence studied vulnerability. Markets studied desire. MKUltra didn't fail. It shifted and evolved. When the CIA shut MKUltra in 1973, it wasn't morality, it was liability. Watergate and Congress's scrutiny made the program dangerous to expose. Files were destroyed. Only a few financial records survived. But the lessons didn't die. The knowledge remained. Human behavior is malleable, predictable, and influenceable. This became the foundation for a new era of subtle control. Control shifted from drugs and hypnosis to systems, markets, and technology. The intelligence community stepped back as the private sector advanced. MKUltra was a crude prototype. Corporations, advertisers, behavioral economists, and Silicon Valley built the real product. Think of it as a relay race. MKUltra ran the first leg, showing perception and behavior could be altered. Then universities studied decision-making and persuasion. Marketers refined emotional targeting. Political strategists tested messaging. Media companies designed attention-grabbing formats. Tech companies created platforms where every tap, swipe, and pause is tracked and fed into algorithms to influence behavior. By the 2000s, what the CIA tried with chemistry, Silicon Valley achieved with code. To understand modern influence, we must trace behavioral science merging with economics. Traditional economics assumed humans were rational. Kahneman and Tversky showed they are biased, emotional, and manipulable. Humans make irrational decisions daily. These insights shape behavioral economics, influencing policy, marketing, finance, and tech. This built on the same idea as MKUltra. Understand human weaknesses, and you can shape their actions. Governments used nudges. Corporations built brand loyalty. Financial institutions predicted fear, greed, and risk. The modern economy became a lab of influence, consent embedded in terms and conditions. The internet gave companies access to attention, the raw material of influence. Social media tracked billions of users willingly. Behavioral data became priceless. Unlike MKUltra, which tested a few people, modern tech can influence entire populations. Influence is now algorithmic, invisible, personalized. Platforms don't control your mind, they control what you see. The line between governments and corporations blurs. Agencies study disinformation. Companies study engagement. Campaigns study persuasion. Hedge funds study behavior. Every major institution now predicts or shapes perception. MKUltra's lesson, that behavior is the ultimate variable, became the foundation of economic power. Markets aren't just supply and demand. They're driven by emotion, expectation, fear, and confidence. Institutions now know how to influence these. The most valuable commodities aren't oil or gold. They're attention, belief, and behavior. Viral narratives, engineered desire, and social influence are all examples. Consumer debt, political polarization, and algorithmic feeds shaping trust and fear. All are influenced by economics. Bank runs triggered by social media panic influence economics. MKUltra foreshadowed a world where mind control became a business. It's now an industry, a market, a trillion-dollar business, and the tools rarely stay in the same hands. Governments fear corporations mastering influence. Corporations fear algorithms. Individuals fear losing awareness of what shapes them. The key asset? Consent. The battle for consent happens in the mind first. MK failed because it was brutal and obvious, but its principles evolved into the attention economy, shaping politics and billions of dollars daily. History doesn't repeat, but incentives do. Competing institutions will always invest in shaping behavior. That's the enduring lesson of MK. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.